Good morning everyone. Today's topic is OSI layer. OSI stands for Open System Interconnection. So in Open System Interconnection model, it contains 7 layers. It is the 7 layered architecture. The 7 layers are performing different works, or the 7 layers are used for different applications. Before going to start OSI layer, we are already completed data communication and need for data communication in networking. Data communication is nothing but exchanging of data between source to receiver. So exchanging of data is based on 3 modes. What are the 3 modes is nothing but simplex, half duplex and full duplex. The simplex is nothing but data communication is only in one direction. Half duplex is nothing but the data communication from sender to receiver and next receiver to sender. And full duplex is nothing but data transmission both the directions simultaneously, means sender to receiver, at the same time receiver to sender. The best example of full duplex communication is mobile communication. And next, computer networks, exchanging of data between two computers or sharing of data between two computers. Communications, the two computers are nothing but exchanging of information from one computer to another computer. The data transmission with highest speed and high security. In computer networks, the data transmission is highest speed and high security. First example of computer network sharing data is for email system, electronic mails, and computer networks need also sharing of printers or LAN. By using of LAN portal, we can share the printers. Next, synchronization purpose, flow controlling purpose. The computer networks, it also suitable for flow controlling mechanism. So these are the topics we are already completed in previous classes. And also analog communication, digital communication. Analog is nothing but continuously the amplitude of signal continuously changing with respective of time. Digital is nothing but discrete signal. It contains only two levels, binary 1 and binary 0. The binary 1 it indicating high position, binary 0 it indicating low position. The best example of analog communication is sine wave. Digital example is square wave. Next, analog communication contains more noise. This is the main disadvantage in analog communication. Whereas in digital, noise is less but it occupies more bandwidth. Whereas analog occupies less bandwidth and cost also less. But the main disadvantage is noise. Whereas in digital, the bandwidth is more, cost is more, but the advantage is noise is less. So these are the topics we are covered in previous classes. So today I am going to explain open system interconnection, is also known as OSI architecture. So first, ISO, International Standard Organization, has its own architecture as the OSI. The OSI, it stands for Open System Interconnection. The architecture ISO is the first to define, and so it relatively parallel to the internet. First it will be defined, it will be relatively suitable for internet communication also. The destination between the two is that ISO family defines different layers in architecture, while internet architecture is applied to achieve a practical environment. So OSI was developed by ISO, International Standard Organization. So the OSI structure, it contains 7 layers and it also suitable for internet communication. The open system interconnection was developed by ISO in 1983 for sending and receiving of data between two computers. The need of OSI is nothing but exchanging of data between two computers. Exchanging of data is nothing but sending and receiving of data between two computers. OSI was developed by ISO in 1983. It deals with connecting open system, that is system follow a standards are open for communicating with other systems irrespective of manufacturers. So the system that standards are suitable for open communicating with other system irrespective of manufacturing. The OSI, it represents a concept of inter-process communication, so that any open system may be able to communicate with another open system. So the OSI architecture, it decomposes the communication process into fundamental layers. The OSI is nothing but it concept of Intel process is nothing but the concept is nothing but open system is able to communicate with other open system, and also the OSI architecture, it decomposes the communication process into fundamental layers. Each layer is responsible for performing special functions. So the OSI architecture is reference model to all open system interconnections. So each layer is used for responsible of performing special functions. So the OSI architecture is a reference model for all other open system interconnections. Why? Because each layer is performing a special functions. The open system interconnection model or OSI model is a conceptual model that characteristics and standards the communication functions of telecommunication or computing system without regard to its underlying internal structure and technology. Its goal is the interoperability of diverse communication system with standard communication protocol. The system is a conceptual characteristic standardization functions of telecommunication or computing system, and it also usable for underlaying of internal structure and technology. The open system or OSI connection model is, it describes the 7 layers that computer system uses to communicate over a network. It was the first standard model for network communications adopted by all major computer and telecommunication companies in the early 1980s. So this is the first and basic type of communication, basic type of open system interconnection communication is the first standard model for network communications, and it also used in computers and telecommunication companies in the early 1980s. The model uses layers to help give a visual description of what is going on with a particular networking system. So the model is used for visual description purpose and within particular networking system. Next, the open system interconnection is a basic reference OSI model, is an abstract description for layered communications and computer network protocol designs, and it was developed by the part of open system interconnection OSI. In the most basic form, it divides a network architecture into 7 layers, which from top to bottom. Next are the application, presentation, the 7 layers. OSI describes the 7 layers. The 7 layers are used for computer network protocol design. It was developed by OSI, Open System Interconnection Initiative. First, the basic form is nothing but it divides the total network architecture is into 7 layers. The 7 layers from top to bottom is application layer is the top layer, then next presentation layer, next session layer, next transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and the bottom layer is physical layer. The topmost layer is application layer and the bottom layer is physical layer. So it is therefore it often referred as OSI is a 7 layered architecture. Thus it involves the architecture, it involves 7 layers. So that's why OSI is called 7 layer architecture. These are the different 7 layers in OSI model. The different 7 layers is the first layer is physical layer. Next physical layer is also known as primary layer or bottom layer. So it will be indicated by layer 1, and the layer 2 is the data link layer, layer 3 is the network layer, layer 4 is transport layer, and 5th layer is session layer, 6th layer is presentation layer, and 7th layer is application layer. So these are the 7 layers in OSI architecture. So here the OSI 7 layers, it will be connected open system interconnection. The communication with one computer communicate with another computer, that is nothing but device A is called one computer, or device A is the one host and device B is the one other host. So communication from device A to device B or host A to host B. So host A, it contains in this diagram, host A, it contains the 7 layers. The 7 layers layers is physical layer, data layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer and application layer. So these are the 7 layers it involved in host A or device A. The 7 layers will be communicate in open system model with another computer. The another computer means the device B is the another computer. It also contains the 7 layers. The 7 layers same like A only. A, that is nothing but physical layer, data layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer. So these are the 7 layers in device B. So communication will start from physical layer to physical layer. So here first the communication first starts from physical layer to physical layer, then afterwards physical layer to again it transfer physical layer. So communication is established from physical layer of device A to physical layer of device B. Next, communication from data link layer of device A to data link layer of device B. Then afterwards communication from network layer 3 to network layer 3 in device B. That is nothing but third layer to third layer. Third is called network layer. Network layer to network layer communicating. And the fourth layer is called transport layer. The fourth layer is nothing but transport layer. So this is also called layer to layer communication. Layer to layer. So here first physical to physical data device, but again physical communication will be. The first 3 layers is called primary layers. The first 3 elementary standards, elementary layer are the fundamental layers. Physical layer, data layer, network layer is called fundamental layers in OSI architecture. Next, fourth layer is transport layer. So device A, it will be connected with device B. Device A connection of transport layer to device B connection of transport layer. Again device A session layer to device B session layer. Session layer device A is nothing but communicated in open system model. Next, device 6 presentation layer. Device A, 6th layer is the presentation layer. It will be communicated with device B presentation layer. The device B presentation layer is the 6th layer only. Next, device A last layer or the topmost layer is application layer. So the application layer will be connected to application layer in the device B. Next, it also supports for internet node and internet node. So these are the 7 layers. This is the basic and main diagram of OSI layer. The OSI architecture, it contains these 7 layers. These 7 layers are communicated with another device B. Device A, it contains the 7 layers. It will be communicated with device B 7 layers. This is the main architecture diagram of OSI layer. The first 3 layers is nothing but physical data network layers are called fundamental layers or primary layers in OSI layer data communication. Next, this is the OSI model 7 layers. The OSI model 7 layers: physical, data, network, transport, session, presentation, application. Next, same physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer and application layer. So first, here physical layer we are used as a hub and repeater. So it will be connected with physical layer. Next, data link layer. Switches are connected with the data link layer. Our router is connected to network layer. Source to destination, source to destination. Transport layer is nothing but process to process transporting. So the above 3 layers is nothing but session layer and presentation layer, application layer are used for application process. So these are the above 3 layers: application layer, presentation layer and session layer. Primary 3 layers is called physical, data, network. The middle layer, transport layer, is used for communication or transporting purpose. Next, data protocol and activities. So first, physical layer. Physical layer is nothing but the physical layer, it uses the medium as a coaxial cable or fiber optic cable or wireless communication, 10 base giga ethernet. So physical layer, it supports for either medium axis control or coaxial cable, fiber optic cable or wireless communication. So it transport the activities of physical layer is nothing but it uses the TCP IP, stands for transmission control protocol or internet protocol. The TCP/IP stands for transmission control protocol, or it is also known as internet protocol. The physical layer, it will be communicated with internet layer, is nothing but the physical layer data will be exchanged by using of coaxial cable or fiber optic cable or wireless communication. It transmits bits over a medium to provide mechanical and electrical specifications. The physical layer, it provides mechanical and electrical specifications. Next, data link layer. The data link layer is nothing but this is the IEEE 802 standards. The data link layer, it connect internet protocol by using of IEEE 802 standards. IEEE stands for Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. So this is the communication standards. IEEE is the Ethernet standards, Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. So the data link layer, it connected by using of IEEE standards, or FDDI is nothing but fiber distributed data transfer. Here using fiber optic cable, fiber distributed data transfer, or point to point protocol, or physical address. So the data link layer connected to internet by using of these, and the performances or the activity of this is nothing but to organize the bits into frames, and it provide hope to hope delivery. Next, network layer. Network layer is nothing but the network layer, it connects with internet protocol. Next, it connected with logical address, automatic request repeat, and it will be used to move the packets from source to destination. It provides the internetworking. Next, the transport layer. The need of transport layer is nothing but transporting. The transporting to TCP. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol, or UDP stands for User Datagram Protocol. User datagram means connectionless services. User datagram protocols, sockets and port address. So the main activity is nothing but it provide reliable process to process messages, delivery and error recovery purpose. So the transport layer is used for delivery purpose, at the same time error recovery. Session layer. The session layer, it will be connected with it establish and it manage, terminate and sessions. So it establishes a connection and it also manages the connection and terminates sessions. Next, presentation layer. The presentation layer is used to translate, encrypt and compress the data. Encrypt is nothing but decrypt is nothing but the message will be transferred coding language before transmission. After receiving, it will be decoded into original language. Coding, decoding is called encryption, decryption. So the processing involved in a channel is nothing but it will be depends on coding of, so the coding is nothing but encrypt and decrypt. So presentation layer is nothing but translation purpose. The translator purpose, it will be encrypt and it compress the data. And the topmost layer is the application layer. Application layer, it uses the Telenet FTP. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol, or SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, or HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or the application layer, it uses DNS, Domain Name Services. Next, the specific addresses. The main activity it involved, or the main goal of application layer is nothing but to allow access to network resources. So these are the OSI layer protocols and its activities. So physical layer, data layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, application layer. These are the 7 layers. It will be used for different activities and it will be communicated with transmission control protocol or internet protocol. It will be communicated with transmission control protocol or internet protocol. So first is the physical layer. The physical layer is the bottom layer of OSI architecture. So layer 1 of the OSI model is the physical layer. The physical layer, it defines electrical and physical specifications for the devices. So the main aim of physical layer is nothing but it defines the electrical and physical specifications for devices. The physical layer, it defines the relationship between a device and a transmission medium, such as the physical layer, it uses a copper or optical cable. So physical layer is nothing but it uses for device specifications, and it will be used to build relationship between device and transmission medium. The device it uses copper or fiber optic cable or coaxial cable. The physical layer is responsible for transmitting of raw bits over a communication channel. The data communication it involves in a physical layer is nothing but the message is a type of raw bit information. Next, the physical layer is the bottom layer of OSI. It contains raw bit information. So it converts raw bit information to frames from data link layer into bits, and the recovering end bits from physical layer is given to data link layer. So it converts frames. Raw bit will be converted into frames from the data link layer, and the data link layer from the data link layer into bits, and at the receiving end. So at the receiving end, so this is the transmitting end. So here the physical layer it contains raw bit information. So the physical layer here it contains raw bit information. So the raw bit information will be transferred to data link layer at transmission side. At receiving side, the data link layer information is the raw bit information is converted into frames to data link layer. At the receiving side, the frames will be again reconverted into raw bit information. So first at transmission section, the raw bits are converted into frames and a data link layer, and at receiving section the frames will be reconverted into bits at the receiving state, and the bits from physical layer is given to data link layer. And the physical layer is also suitable for sending of raw bit information from source to destination. To do this, the source and destination nodes have agree on number of factors. The number of factors are: voltage constitute a bit value 0, a voltage constitute a bit value 1 with a bit interval, whether the communication is only one direction or both the directions simultaneously. That is nothing but the physical layer is also responsible for simplex, half duplex or full duplex. So it deals with electrical specifications of cable. So physical layer is responsible for sending of raw bit information from source to destination. So sending of raw bit information, the source and destination nodes have how to agree the number of factors. The number of factors which involve a bit value, voltage constitute a bit value 0 or a bit value 1, whether the communication is only in one direction or the communication in bidirectional, that is nothing but simplex or half duplex. It is a computer networks, but OSI is used in computers so that it can understand only binary ones and zeros, such that voltage constitute a bit value 0 or 1. The bit will be what is the bit interval, whether the communication is in only one direction or full direction. So this is the physical layer diagram. So first physical layer, it receives information from data link layer. So data link layer, and again it transfer the transmission medium, it transfer information into data link layer. So physical layer is nothing but it will be communicating and full duplex communication. Here it will be receiving, again it will be exchanging data into data link layer. Physical layer first receive the information from data link layer, and again the information will be exchanged to data link layer. So one of the major function of physical layer is moves in the direction of electromagnetic signals across a transmission medium. Next, it is responsible for movement of individual bits from one hope is called one node to next node. So movement of individual bits from one node to another node. Next, both data and signals can be either analog or digital layer. The physical layer it supports for both analog and digital type of communication. So both data signals and both messages will be either analog or digital. The data signals can be either analog or digital. The transmission media work by conducting energy along physical path, which can be varied or wired or wireless. So the transmission media here using in a physical path is wired or wireless. The wired or wireless is known also guided or unguided. Wired media is also called as guided media. Guided is nothing but connection oriented. Connection by using a wire, that is nothing but it uses either optical fiber cable or coaxial cable, or unguided media is nothing but it uses radio waves or microwaves for communication. Unguided media is also known as wireless communication. The physical characteristics it interface the medium, that is nothing but transmission medium. The representation of bits or the stream of bits is zeros and ones with no interpretation and encoded into signals. The data rate, duration of a bit which is the longest, the data rate is long. Next, synchronization of bits. Sender and receiver clock must be synchronized. Line configuration, so it will be used to point or multi-point communication, and it uses the physical topology. Topology is nothing but arrangement in a network arrange. Next, transmission media. Transmission media either simplex or half duplex or full duplex. This is about physical layer. Physical layer is suitable for transmitting of raw bit information, and it receives information from data link layer to physical layer. The physical layer is exchanging of information from raw bits into frames in data link layer. So again it will be receives frames information and it will be reconverted into raw bits in physical layer. Next, the physical layer is it depends on the mode of communication, simplex, half duplex or full duplex. It depends on the physical topology. Next, data link layer. The data link layer is the layer 2 of OSI model. So the data link layer it provides the functional and procedural means to transfer of data between network entities and to detect the possibly correct errors, and they may occur in physical layer. So the error detection and error correction purpose we are using data link layers. It provides the functional procedures of transfer data between network entities. So it exchanges the data link layer to network layer, and it also receives the information from network layer to data link layer. This layer it converts data packets from network layer to frames. So the data transmission, the data link layer is used for transmitting of frames into network layer. The network layer information as a packets, whereas the receiving side, the network layer transferring packets, and the data link layer it receives the packets. The data link layer it converts data packets from the network layer and it into frames at receiving section. This layers converts into frames into packets. The data link layer it divides the stream of bits received from the network layer into manageable data units called frames. So the data link layer it divides the stream of bits from the network layer and it into manageable data units called frames. So that is nothing but physical layer it exchange the data is in the form of raw bit. Next, data link layer is nothing but just the raw bit information will be converted into frames. At the data link layer section, the raw bit information will be exchanged as a frames. So the data link layer it divides the stream of bits received from the network layer and it will be frames. Next, data link layer is nothing but it frames are to be distributed different systems on the network. The data link layer it adds the header to the frame and define the physical address of sender and the receiver destination address of frame. So the data link layer is nothing but the data link layer is distributed different system on the network, and it also header and tailor information. Header and tailor information is nothing but header to the frame is nothing but it defines header information consists of physical address where it can received, physical address of sender or physical address of source, and also receiver where to send, that is nothing but destination. Physical address of sender is called header information, destination address is called receiver information. Next, data link layer it adds the header and tailor information. So header and tailor consist of source address and destination address, that is nothing but physical address of sender and receiver of frame. Next, data link layer it receives the data to be sent from the network layer. It adds header and tailor which is known as frame. The frame is transmitted to the physical layer. Next, data link layer data packets. Packets is nothing but network layer. So network layer to data link layer it information will be received. The received information is first it contains trailer, the frames. Frames is nothing but network layer information is in the form of packets. The packets will be exchanged into frames. First the network layer information is in terms of packets, and the packets will be exchanged into frames. The packets will be exchanged into frames. The frames is nothing but the frame is in data link layer. The frame it adds tailor and header information. Header information is nothing but it just source information. Tailor information is nothing but destination information or received information. This is the data link layer diagram. So network layer and data link layer is nothing but in between network layer and physical layer. So this is the data link layer. First it receives information from network layer and it will be exchanged to physical layer. Next, and the data link layer property is nothing but it receives information from network layer and the same data will be exchanged to physical layer. Whereas in transmitting section, so it information will be exchanged from physical layer to data link layer and data link layer to networking layer. So this is the data link layer working function. Data link layer just it accepts information from physical layer and the accepted information will be converted into frames. Frames will be transferred to network layer. So the network layer receives the frames in terms of packets. Next, the packets will be again exchanged at receiving section into data link layer and the data link layer received the packets and it will be reconverted into frames and the frames will be transferred to physical layer. So the data link layer is the inner layer between physical layer and networking layer. And it also main suitable for data link layer is error correction and error detection purpose. So the data link layer first it can be divided into two sublayers. The two sublayers in a data link layer is LLC. First sublayer is LLC, that is nothing but logic link control. So it is used for error control and flow control purpose. Second one is the MAC, data link layer. Internally it consists of two sublayers. Actually it is in between physical and network layer, but it internally consists of two sublayers. One is the logic link control and second one is the medium access control. The need of logic link control is nothing but error correction and error control, flow control purpose. Medium access control is nothing but the use of medium access control in local area network. It decides who can send the data, when and how much data. So the medium access control is nothing but it can be suitable for local area network and who can send and when and how much data it will be sended. Next, this is the block diagram of data link layer. So the data link layer it accepts information from physical layer. Next, it will be exchanged to network layer or it receives information from network layer to data link layer and data link layer to physical layer. So data link layer is the middle layer of physical layer and networking layer. The data link layer is nothing but it consists of two sublayers LLC, MAC, and the main aim of data link layer is nothing but it will be transferring data in the form of frames and it also suitable for error correction and error detection purpose. At the same time, data link layer it adds the header and trailer information. The header and trailer information so need is nothing but header information is nothing but source address and trailer information is the destination address, where to send and where to receive. So data link layer is nothing but first framing. The first property of data link layer is responsible for moving of frames from one node to next node. So first framing, stream of bits into manageable data units is called frames. Frames is nothing but stream of data into manageable data units. Next, physical addressing. Physical addressing is nothing but MAC address, medium access control address. Medium access control is used for it decides who can send the data and how much data is sending. So this is the physical address. Next, flow control. So the mechanism over involving is the receiver. The mechanism overwhelming is receiver. Error control, flow control and error control. Error control is nothing but trailer and retransmission. Access control, defining master devices in the same link. So this is the data link layer, host to host communication. Data link layer framing support, physical addressing, flow control, error control and access control. Next, data link layer sublayers. So the data link layer divide the information into two sublayers. The two sublayers is nothing but data link layer Next, physical layer, network layer. Data link layer is the middle layer in between physical and network layer. It contains the logic link control sublayer and medium access control sublayer. Logic link control is nothing but used for flow control purpose and also error control. Medium access is nothing but local area purpose. It decides who can send the data, when and how much data it will be sent. So this is all about data link layer. Next, network layer. The network layer is the third layer in OSI model and it is responsible for connections between different networks. Networking is nothing but just connection. It is used for networking purpose and it is responsible for connection between different networks. This layer converts data segments into packets and the receiving end the packets are converted into data segments. So transmitting section data segments into packets, that is nothing but frames to packets, and the receiving end packets to frames. So this layer determines the path and routing for transmitting data from source to destination. So this layer is used for routing purpose and also routing and transmitting of data from source to destination. So first network layer is in between transport layer and data link layer. So data link layer, just it exchanges information into network layer and network layer to transport layer. At the receiving end, the transport layer to network layer to data link layer. The packets are exchanging from data link layer to networking layer, or it receives the packets from network layer to data link layer. So this is the networking layer. Networking layer, it exchanges information from source to destination. So it also establishes the routing, and the network layer is responsible for connection between different networks. So first, this is the diagram. So it accepts information from transport layer and it will be communicated to data link layer at the receiving station. So at the transmission station, the data link layer transmits the frames and it will be converted into packets in form of network layer, again network layer to transport layer. So the network layer is responsible for the delivery of individual packets. In OSI layer, physical address is called raw bit information. Data link layer is nothing but it contains the values in the form of frames, whereas in network layer the data will be in the form of packets. So here the network layer is responsible for the delivery of individual packets from the source to destination. That is nothing but source host to the destination host. And it contains logical addressing nothing but IP addressing, internet protocol addressing. Next to routing from source to destination, transmission between network purpose. The next layer is the transport layer. The transport layer is the OSI layer, fourth layer. Layer 4 is the OSI model is transport layer. It is responsible for source to destination, end to end delivery of the entire message. So this is the middle layer, and the main aim of transport layer is nothing but responsible for transporting of information from source to destination, that is nothing but end to end model. This layer converts data into smaller segments for sending. At the receiving station, the segments are converted into original data. So transport layer contains the information is in the form of segments. So this layer converts data into smaller segments for sending. At the receiving, the segments are reconverted into original data. So this layer is also suitable for error control and flow controlling purpose. Transport layer need is nothing but transporting data from source to destination. It is a end-to-end model, and it also transferring information in the form of segments. A transferring section, the data will be transferred in the form of small segments. At the receiving station, the small segments will be reconverted into original data. And the main aim of this is nothing but error control and flow control. And the transport layer is in between network layer and session layer. So it accepts information from network layer and it will be shared to session layer. At the same time, it receives information from session layer and it will be retransferring to network layer. This is the transport layer property. First accepts information from network layer and it will be converted to session layer, whereas second time at receiving station, it receives information from session layer and retransfer to network layer. So the transport layer is responsible for delivery of messages from one process to another process. So first, service point addressing purpose. The transport layer is used for service point addressing, that is nothing but port addressing. Next, segmentation assembly. Segmentation and reassembly, that is nothing but sequence of numbers can exchange. Connection control is nothing but connectionless or connection oriented. So flow control is nothing but exchanging of data between end to end. Error control is nothing but process to process. So these are the transport layer working functions. Next is session layer. The session layer is responsible for establishing, managing, synchronizing and terminating sessions between end user application process. So it is for first establishing connection, managing, synchronizing and terminating sessions between end user applications. It works as a dialog controller. It allows establish, maintenance and disconnect between communicating systems. First it allows dialog control. It allows a connection will be established and maintain the connection and disconnect the communication. So it allows the communication between two devices either in simplex or in half duplex mode of transmission. So the session layer is suitable for communicating in simplex or half duplex mode. Next, it allows a process to add checkpoints. Checkpoints is called synchronization points into stream of data. So first the main goal of session layer is nothing but it is the fifth layer involved in OSI architecture. First it establishing connection, managing, synchronizing and terminating sessions between end user applications, and it maintains and disconnect between communicating systems, establishing and disconnection, supporting for half duplex and full duplex connection. So the session layer is in between transport layer and presentation layer. Next, it also adds some checkpoints. The checkpoints is nothing but synchronization points into stream of data, end user applications purpose. So it will be first it accepts information from transport layer and it will be transferred to presentation layer, whereas at receiving station it receives information from presentation layer and it can transfer to transport layer. So this is the middle layer involved in between transport and presentation layer. The session layer is responsible for dialog control and synchronization. So dialog control is nothing but supports for half duplex and full duplex or simplex communication. Synchronization is the synchronization process it within same page. Next layer is the presentation layer. This is the sixth layer in OSI model. The presentation layer is the sixth layer of OSI model. Next, the presentation layer is the ISO open system connection interconnection model that establishes a connection with a context between application layer entities in which higher layer entities. Application layer is the last layer, so that it entity is the highest layer entities. Next, presentation layer is concerned with syntax and semantics for the information exchange between two systems. Next, it translates the application into network format and vice versa. So it translates information into network format, or it accepts information from network, accepts information as network format. The presentation layer, first it is concerned with syntax. Next, information exchange between two systems. The presentation layer, it also provides encrypt and decrypt data to be sent across the network. So it provides a format of encrypt, decrypt is nothing but encrypt is nothing but before going to process, the information will be transferred in a coding language is called encryption. At the receiving station, the coding language is just the coding language is reconverted into original language is called decryption. So it provides a format of encryption and decryption. Encryption, decryption need is nothing but it providing communication, perfect noiseless communication purpose. So we are using encryption and decryption. So first, the presentation layer, it accepts information from application layer and it transfer to session layer. Whereas in transmitting section, it accepts information from session layer and it will able to communicate with application layer. So presentation layer, it receives information from application layer and exchange it to session layer, or it transport information from session layer to application layer. So this is the middle layer in between session and application layers. The presentation layer is used for encryption and decryption of data, and also the presentation layer is responsible for translation, compression and encryption. Translation is nothing but interportability between different encoding systems. Encryption is nothing but private system. Compression is nothing but data compression. So encryption, decryption is nothing but it also is security methods. security coding techniques. The final layer or the topmost layer in OSI is the application layer. Application layer is the topmost layer in OSI reference model. The application layer is the OSI model. It is the topmost layer, and the manipulation of data, that is nothing but data is nothing but information in various ways in done with layer, which enables user or software to get access the network. And one widely used application protocol is HTTP. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is the basics for the World Wide Web. And the application layer, it enables the user, either human or software, access the network. So application layer is the topmost layer which enables the user software, and it will be used for hypertext transfer protocol. The HTTP is used in, which is the basics for World Wide Web, and also application layer enables the either human or software access the network. And application layer, it provides end user for processing of data, and it supports for services such as email. Email is nothing but electronic mailing, file transferring, sharing, database management, network software services, and other type of distributed information services. So it will be used for processing of data, supports email purpose, file transferring, sharing of data between management and network software. This layer acts as an interface between end user and network. So it is a interface layer between interface between end user and network. This layer is mainly allows access to network resources. This is the application layer. So application layer, it accepts information from presentation layer and it transfer information to presentation layer. So this is the topmost layer. The application layer is used for end user programming purpose, human or programming purpose, end user application. The application layer, it is responsible for providing services to the user, and network virtual terminal, that is nothing but software, file transfer access management, mail services, it transfers information as in the form of mail services, directory services. Directory services is nothing but it access to distributed database sources and global information about various objects and services. This is all about 7 layers in OSI architecture. So today's class is completely OSI architecture only. So OSI first developed by ISO standard 7 layer architecture. The 7 layers are used for 7 applications, and it is a open system interconnection model. First it will be developed by ISO in 1980s. First, the open system interconnection will be communicated the 7 different layers with 7 different layers in host B. Host A 7 layers will be connected with host B 7 layers. The same 7 layers are interconnected, and the 7 layers are performing 7 different applications. First physical layer is nothing but raw bit information, and it will be first primary layer or bottom layer. Next, the raw bit information will be transferred to data link layer. At the receiving station, the data link layer transfer information to physical layer. Transmitting section physical to data, at receiving station data to physical. So data link layer is nothing but information will be accepted from physical layer and it will be converted into frames. The need of data link layer is error control and error detection correction purpose. Next, the data link layer, it also adds the information as header and tailor information. Next, header and tailor information is nothing but source and destination addresses. Next, the data link layer, it consists of 2 internal sublayers like LLC, MAC. LLC stands for logic link control and MAC stands for medium access control. Next, the data link layer, it accepts information from physical layer and it transport information to networking layer. Or the data link layer, it receives information from networking layer and it again exchanges to physical layer. So it is the middle layer in between physical and networking layer. Next, networking layer, it accepts information from data link layer. The accepted information will be in the form of packets. Network layer, it converts frames into packets and it will be exchanged to transport layer, or the network layer is used for communicating purpose. Network layer, it accepts information from transport layer and it communicate to data link layer. Next, Session layer is nothing but next transport layer. The transport layer, it accepts information into smaller segments. At the receiving station, the smaller segments will be reconverted into original language. In the transport layer, it accepts information from network layer and it will be transferring to session layer. Whereas receiving station, it receives information to session layer and it transfer to network layer. Session layer is nothing but it will be establishing, managing connections and user applications purpose. It will work on simplex and half duplex modes. It will be, first connection will be transport layer and session layer, presentation layer. That is nothing but transport layer transport information to session layer and session layer to presentation layer. Whereas in receiving station, it receives information from presentation layer, again it exchanges to transport layer. Presentation layer main aim is nothing but it work as encryption and decryption purpose. Next, presentation layer, it accepts information from session layer and it transfer to application layer, that is the topmost layer, and it also receives information from application layer and it will be retransferring to session layer. That is the process is called encryption and decryption. Encryption is nothing but first, before we are in transmitting section, that is nothing but session to application we are done with encryption, and at receiving station means application to session layer we are done with decryption. Security wise, encryption and decryption, the crosstalks will be avoided. Next, application layer is the final layer. So in application layer, OSI topmost layer, that is nothing but 7th layer. So it will be suitable for file transferring email services, mainly HTTP. HTTP is nothing but hypertext transfer protocol, and it also suitable for network software and other distributed information sources. So it will be interface between end user and networking purpose. So the layer mainly allows network resources. Application layer mainly allows network resources. This is all about OSI layer. OSI 7 layers, open system interconnection 7 layers, and that this is the block diagram, and the working functions is the block diagrams, and the different working functions of 7 layers. Thank you all.